A quick disclaimer that not only today's show, but Thursday's show, Thanksgiving show of Brandon's World, we are going to be recording on Monday, November 24th, 2025. So the Monday night game between the Panthers and the Niners has not happened yet, just due to my schedule. I'm actually currently in the process of moving. There's a lot going on, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to knock out Tuesday's show. I'm going to knock out Thursday's show here in one recording. So if I don't give in-depth analysis, if it's a little bit shorter than usual, that is the reason why. Today we're going to be doing the Week 12 NFL recap, as well as, again, we'll talk about rivalry week in college football. On Thursday, we're going to do my Thanksgiving slash Week 13 NFL picks, as well as my predictions for WB Survivor Series 2025. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into the Week 12 NFL recap, starting with Thursday night, where the Houston Texans got 8 sacks on the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, after having 6 total touchdowns the week before, had zero. And the Texans, with Davis Mills, all of a sudden have won 3 in a row. And don't look now, but the Houston Texans have a legitimate shot to make the playoffs as a wild card team. They are not dead. And on the contrary, the Buffalo Bills, who many of us picked to even be the number one seed this year in the AFC, may not even make the postseason. And, Keon Coleman 2 weeks out now for disciplinary reasons for Buffalo. Outside of Khalil Shakir, especially with Dalton Kincaid out, does not look like Josh Allen trusts any of his pass catchers. James Cook has been good on the ground this year. That's about it for this Buffalo Bills team. I think as long as they have Josh Allen, they're gonna win games. But Josh Allen was on Thursday night, even though last play of the game, he missed the mesh route to Dawson Knox wide open. I think he just felt hurried by the Texans defensive line against the Bills offensive line. And now Buffalo this week goes into Pittsburgh. And as much as the Steelers and Mason Rudolph, and they may not have DK Metcalf, and who knows what's going on with that game. The Steelers' defensive line could make trouble over that Buffalo Bills offensive line. The Bills are just so inconsistent. They have Josh Allen, but I'll be honest, I don't know what to make of them. How about the Chiefs? That great comeback. The Colts were up 20-9. Late in the fourth quarter, Kansas City obviously pushes it to overtime 2020. The Colts then get the ball to begin overtime. They have to punt. The Chiefs then with a game-winning field goal after Mahomes. Great job stepping up in the pocket, finding Worthy down the middle of the field. The Chiefs, as Tony Romo said all broadcast, saved their season with this victory, though they're not out of the neck of the woods yet. One of the things I want to talk about here as we get later in the season is it's not necessarily matchup game by game analysis anymore, right? We're looking at the playoff picture. In the AFC and in the NFC, obviously we know there's 4 division winners and there's 3 wild cards. Well, I think New England's going to win the East. I think Denver's going to win the West. I think Baltimore is going to win the North. And I think that the Colts, right now at least, are still going to win the South. But you look at the AFC, and to me, you've got the Bills, you've got the Chiefs, you've got the Chargers, you've got the Steelers, we'll throw them in there, and you got the Jaguars, and you got the Texans. That's 6 teams who are fighting for 3 spots. And I will give the benefit of the doubt to the Chiefs and the Bills, though they don't deserve that benefit of the doubt. I mean, there is a real chance. Listen, Jacksonville plays the Titans this week. If the Texans knock off the Colts, the Colts still have to play the Texans and Jaguars both twice. There's a chance that Indianapolis starts 8-2, and if they lose those 4 division games, they're certainly not winning the division, and they may not make the playoffs. There's also a chance now. Buffalo's got some tough games, and don't sleep on the game at Cleveland because of the Browns' defense. They got to go to New England. They got to go to Pittsburgh. They'll take on the Bengals, who by that time should have Joe Burrow back at quarterback. The Bills are in real trouble here. And the Chiefs, they got Dallas on Thanksgiving, a game that we thought going into the year was an easy game. Well, look at the way the Cowboys can score and look at the way the Chiefs have struggled offensively. I think the Chiefs are going to win that game. Right now, they're favored by 3.5, but I'm just not so sure. Seattle beat the Titans. Listen, they didn't cover. Tennessee got a couple backdoor touchdowns. There's a reason why I said do not bet this game. 13.5 was too large of a spread. Seattle was dominating this thing early. It looked like an easy cover. Then Cam Ward came back with a couple, again, touchdown drives. They got a punt return for a touchdown as well, to cover into that spread. But the Seahawks are now right there with the Rams, still in contention for that NFC West crown. And Drake May didn't even play that great. Again, it sounded like the Bengals may run out Joe Burrow, but they wanted to keep him, upright, knowing they had a game in 4 days on Thanksgiving against their arch rival Ravens. And New England's defense just came through. They made plays when they had to. Drake May did not play his best game. The run game was not great, and New England is undefeated on the road this year. They found a way to win those games, and New England is on their way to being the number one seed in the AFC. Obviously, the Bengals did not have Jamar Chase due to the spitting incident with Jalen Ramsey. I'm interested to see how many teams the Bengals can play spoiler against. The Bills being one of them, as I mentioned in week 14. Maybe it's the Ravens, right? They got 2 games in 3 weeks with the Ravens. Thanksgiving and also week 15 in Cincinnati. We know when Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson have been healthy and have played against each other, those two, especially last year, right? Remember the 1 o'clock game in Cincinnati, the Thursday night game in Baltimore, both those games being instant classics. Speaking of Baltimore, they barely, and they didn't cover, it was 13.5. They won by 13. They barely pulled away from the Jets late. Tyrod Taylor played okay for the Jets. I mean, it is what it is. The story is the Ravens offense struggling to sustain drives. They're not getting Derrick Henry going in the run game. And Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry all dominated in their run games last year. And this year, none of the three look even close, and none of the three teams look, I would say, even that close to what they were a year ago. Listen, I think Baltimore at this point is better than Pittsburgh, who lost to Chicago 31 to 28. I don't know what to make of that game because Mason Rudolph was mostly throwing balls behind the line of scrimmage, and they were somehow getting touchdowns out of it. Kenneth Gainwell gave the Steelers big production. Caleb Williams had a bad sack he took in the end zone, but he also made some great throws, including down the seam, one to DJ Moore for a touchdown. I think it's sort of the good and bad you get with Caleb Williams. The Steelers, it's a good thing they got up to this hot start. What we talked about a year ago with their 9-8 record. Um, obviously this is damaging to them. They're going to have to split with Baltimore, I would think, to have some sort of semblance, some sort of shot at the AFC North crown. Their first opportunity will be week 14 in Baltimore. Then they will play week 18 in Pittsburgh. For all we know, that game could decide the division. It could decide the number 4 seed in the AFC, and it could decide who's in and who goes home in the AFC playoff picture. But all of a sudden, the Bears are 8-3. Listen, the Packers won. They took apart the Vikings, even without Josh Jacobs. I mean, what's to say about JJ McCarthy? He does not look like the answer for Minnesota. And while Detroit won against the Giants go ahead and they fire defensive coordinator Shane Bowen, and Jahmyr Gibbs had a career day, nearly 300 yards of scrimmage, 3 touchdowns. He is. I know we want to talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, but especially now without Sam Laporta, who's reportedly going to miss the rest of the season for the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs is weapon number one for them, and he is as explosive as a back as we have in this league. And you look at this division now, the Lions and Packers, and don't forget Green Bay stomped Detroit week 1 in Lambeau. How these two teams have changed since then. Now we go into this week 13 matchup, and Green Bay has always played well in Detroit. I think it's telling the Lions are only a 3-point favorite. The Bears, meanwhile, at 8-3. The Eagles are 8-3. We saw their collapse against the Cowboys, which I'll get to. But the Bears are 7-point underdogs, which tells me Vegas does not believe in the Bears. Yes, they can run the football, but their passing attack is inconsistent. Their defense has not been great. But I think out of all three of these teams in the NFC North, again, there's a reason why I picked the Vikings for fourth. I thought they were the worst team in the NFC North. I thought they had the worst quarterback in the NFC North. I believe in the Ben Johnson Caleb Williams combination. I thought the Lions would win 10, 11 games. I thought it would look a little more clunky. I thought Green Bay would have a really good year. I thought Matthew Golden would pop as a number one wide receiver. That has not happened. Their defense is what has kept them in games. So I did bet the Lions though, minus 10.5. Listen, the Giants, Jameis Winston, you're gonna get what you're gonna get. I thought it was gonna be a bad Jameis game. I thought coming off the Philadelphia game, the Lions would bounce back at home where that offense is so explosively fast. Obviously, that was not the case, so we missed out on the points there. We also missed out. New England was covering against Cincinnati minus 7.5 for a while. Joe Flacco had a good comeback. Cincinnati only loses by 6, so they cover the 7.5. So we're over 2 there. We barely get Jacksonville. It took overtime, and that was a weird game. Michael Wilson had a big game. Trey McBride had a big game. Jacoby Brissett was completing passes left and right, but in the second half, no defense could really stop each other. I said I think the Jaguars are a good football team. They beat Kansas City this year. I know they've been hot. I know they've been cold. You don't know what to make of Trevor Lawrence every single week, but at this point, Arizona started 2-0, and they are now what, 3-8? I thought the Cardinals were a feisty team, when they were losing all those close games early. But the last 2 weeks, they got blown out at Seattle. They got blown out at home against San Francisco. So I said take away all the feistiness there from the Cardinals, that they were just a done team this year. And at this point, I don't know what direction they're going to go into. Now we have Atlanta at the Saints, and again, the Saints are just bad. I don't know what to make of it. Kirk Cousins played okay. It is what it is. The Falcons are bad. The Saints are bad. I'll be honest, I barely watched this game. And these are two irrelevant teams. They're not going to make the playoffs, so who cares? Two irrelevant teams that also are not going to make the playoffs are the Browns and the Raiders. But I do want to comment on two things. Number one, I thought Shedeur Sanders showed some flashes. I thought that was easily the best offense the Browns have had all year. And they don't have a lot of targets, right? But he got the ball to Harold Fant. He got the ball to Isaiah Mott. He got the ball to Jerry Jeudy, who did do that stupid fumble. But Shedeur Sanders looked like, and again, maybe it was the Raiders defense, which the Raiders may have the worst combination of offensive and defensive lines I've ever seen in my 20 plus years of watching football. They have fired their special teams coordinator, and now they've also fired Chip Kelly. Who's next? Who is Pete Carroll going to blame next for this disaster when Geno Smith has turned the ball over at an alarming rate this season? He still leads the league in interceptions. He is not getting rid of the ball on time. He's getting sacked at a massive rate. The Browns' defensive line, not only led by Myles Garrett, but Malik Owens and Mason Graham and Isaiah McGuire, names you probably haven't even heard of outside of the rookie Mason Graham from Michigan. They completely devoured the Raiders' offensive line. And I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be a good back in the future. I missed on him this year, quite frankly, because I thought the Raiders with Pete Carroll were going to be able to run the football, play action. I thought Geno Smith was going to get Brock Bowers involved, and I thought Jacoby Myers was going to be enough. And I just thought they were going to be able to play good defense, don't turn the ball over, win these close, tough, low scoring games. They can't move the ball at all. Now my Eagles, it was the penalties. That's all I can think of. They're up 21-0. They can't close the door against the Cowboys, obviously. Come back down 21. Dak Prescott does what he does. Disappointing obviously for my Eagles. I don't think it's the end all be all. Dallas comes back down 21-0. They win the game 24-21. There was missed field goals on both sides from Jake Elliott and Brandon Aubrey. It felt like every time the Eagles had a big play, either to Dallas Goedert or even to Devontae Smith, it was called back by penalty. They did get A.J. Brown involved in the offense, but that's not the story here. The story here is Saquon Barkley, who had 5 total yards before contact in the game. Last year was averaging that for the season. And to me, I think that's the biggest story for this Eagles offense. I do not think it's Kevin Petula's play calling. I don't think it's Nick Sirianni. Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense had a bad day, but they've been left out for dry for 3 and outs. And it's one of the things I've talked about the whole season. Negative first down plays, or you get a first down, a good start, and it's 2nd and 2, and you go back because of a holding penalty, and then it's 2nd and 12. The Eagles do things bad teams do. They have just gotten away with it for 11 out of the first 12 weeks of the season. They did not get away with it on Sunday. They had double digit penalties which is a rarity for this Eagles team, specifically in the Nick Sirianni era. Xavier Gibson catches a punt at the 1 yard line for some odd reason, and that was a fumble. Now, the Eagles defense did get a stop after that, but again, the bigger story here is that they are trying everything to get Saquon Barkley going in the run game, and they just can't. Wayne Johnson's out. They don't have Mekhi Becton anymore. I thought Steen's been decent at right guard, but he hasn't brought the power that Mekhi Becton has brought. Cam Jurgens has been hurt the whole year. He just came back. So really, it's been the offensive line, right? They've been banged up since training camp. Landon Dickerson did not play, I don't believe, week 1. I know he missed all of training camp. So to me, that's the bigger issue for this Eagles offense. I still think they're a good team. I think that Dak Prescott and the Cowboys have a really good scheme. I think it'll be interesting to see on Black Friday what they go up against and that Bears rushing attack. Uh, but overall, got to give credit to Dallas, who is rallying behind the Marshawn Kneyland situation. Now, I don't think in the NFC, I think they're too far behind to be a playoff team. But much like Cincinnati, I think they're going to play spoiler as the year goes on potentially. And we know how good that offense is. We'll see if Matt Eberflus can get that defense up to speed by year's end. Yes, it was a class by Philadelphia. And yes, they are no longer the number 1 seed because of what the Rams did to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which we still need to find out more information at the time of this recording on Baker Mayfield's shoulder injury. I'm here to say that no matter what happens tonight between the Carolina San Francisco game, again, I'm recording this on Monday this week, so I don't know what happened. I am predicting the Niners to win. I don't think it's particularly close. I think San Francisco's a bad matchup for Carolina. But what the Rams did at Tampa last night was shocking. The Bucks looked like they came out with no energy, and with Baker Mayfield's shoulder injury, if he's out for a significant amount of time, that 100% opens the door up for not only the Bucks to fall out, but in this NFC now with San Francisco, if they continue to win, you got the Lions, you got the Packers, you got the Bears, you got the Rams, you got the Seahawks, you got Philly. There's a world out there where I think Carolina can overtake Tampa for this division, and the Bucks falter down the stretch, and they not only don't win the NFC South, but they don't even make the postseason, which would be shocking. Obviously, when we started the season, but they've had Mike Evans hurt the whole year. Godwin just came back last night. It's been a year of injuries in the NFL. Let's put it that way. It's been a very strange year. It does not feel like one team is separating. I think the Rams and Eagles are the 2 top teams in the NFC. Right now, I think the 2 top teams in the AFC are New England and Denver, but it's weird because we all want to put their division counterparts, Kansas City and Buffalo, ahead of them because of their reputation. So, going into Monday night, I did go 11-2 in the money line. My only 2 misses being the Bills on Thursday night and the Eagles in that 425 window game against the Cowboys. So far this season in the money line, again, going into Monday night, we are 126-51. Now, in best bets, the only bet I hit was Jacksonville. I missed New England minus 7.5 against the Bengals. They won, they did not cover. I missed the Lions minus 10.5 against the Giants. They obviously won, did not cover. Philadelphia, I obviously missed against Dallas, and Tampa Bay, obviously the plus 6.5 was over within the first 5 minutes. That game was over by halftime. And so 1 for 5 in best bets. Easily my worst betting week of the year. We got to try to bounce back, not only on Thanksgiving, which I'll give you a parlay for on Thursday for Thanksgiving specifically, but then also our week 13 bets. We are 35 for 60 on the year in best bets. In the money line, again, 126-51. Last year for week 12 in the money line, I was 118-61 in best bets. I was 35 for 60. So we're right there on target for best bets. Even with our bad week, we're right there where we were a year ago. We're about 60% ish right there for best bets. And in the money line, we're still doing better this year than we did last year. So overall, I'm having a good year picking games. It was a weird. I said it was a weird week for lines. I didn't trust a lot of my bets. I could have went over 5, which would have been a disaster. Jacksonville stayed in my face. I thought I could have got New England. Philadelphia should have covered. Theoretically, on paper, it looked like it could have been a 3 for 5 or 4 for 5 week, and things fell apart late. Like that clip from the Friends World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button.
While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brandon's World podcast right here on YouTube.